Thank you, Mike, for being my Vanna White. Appreciate that.
Hopefully I don't mess up too bad.
Great turnout. Thanks everybody for attending this public forum for the new city hall and police station that the city is proposing to build. This is put on so that we can have a little bit more or less formal environment for people to come ask questions, hear about what our plans are, see some designs and some renderings of what the facility might look like. And then at the end, if anybody would like, we'll be doing tours of the existing facility. Maybe you've come in to pay utility bill, but you haven't been able to see the entire facility, and we'll be happy to walk you around and let you see what we're working with currently. I'm really excited to see the turnout we've got here because this is a big thing for our city. We believe it's needed, and it's also quite substantial as well. We know that the cost to build a new facility, even though it's going to be something that we can utilize for many decades to come, is substantial and is something that requires a lot of thought and consideration, not something that should be rushed through or anything. So I'm really excited to see the public input we've got here. Mike, can you go next slide, please?
Oh,
Yeah, just hit the back, hit the left arrow once back. Other way. Come on, man.
Use your arrows. Mike, go up above and use your arrows.
What arrow?
Lower right.
Back up one more. There you go.
that's what happens when you get a parks guy in charge.
Don't worry, Mike. We'll keep you in the parks.
Roast has begun.
Okay, so first I want to walk through the need for the facility that we are proposing. A lot of it is based on the existing facility we've got here. In this building, we have many of our departments throughout City Hall as well as the police station. This facility is currently undersized for us and it's aging. It's served its use. We've been in this for a very long time. Before it was in this setup, there's a fire station used to be in here, police station used to have a different impact as well. And we've been in this building for a long time. There's a lot of water leaks that you'll see if you get a tour of the building that has led to some issues. We've had failures with HVAC. Windows are quite inefficient. Our siren tower has issues. There's quite a lengthy list of things that if we don't build a new facility, we're going to need to put some significant investment into this one just to keep it going as is in its current state. Space is a big concern. Police in particular, they're lacking space for offices, for interview space, for evidence. Quite often, Justin, if he's got a larger case that they're working on, it's going to need to take this room, all of their offices, anything else that they can. If they're interviewing multiple suspects, they may need to, walk people past each other. And if there's a victim in this case, that can lead to re-victimization, which is exactly what we're trying to prevent when we are interviewing these individuals. On the administration side as well, lacking space for meetings, for offices. As we are growing as a community, we also need to be looking at what needs we have within the city for growth as well. This room today, I think was double booked this afternoon. I don't even know where the second meeting ended up going. I think they ended up going upstairs, which isn't always ideal either, but this room gets used quite a bit. There's a lot of ADA accessibility issues, especially in the engineering department. If anybody's coming in for a building permit or any questions for that department, and they can't do stairs, staff often have to come down to them, which we're happy to do, but we'd love to have a facility that is openly accessible to all members of the public throughout the entire day. There's also safety concerns too. We live in a world where you never know what's going to happen, and there's some people that aren't very friendly towards local government, and you do see things in the news. So there are staff at times that have safety concerns for access in and out of the facility and in those terms. Next slide, please. I'll walk through a brief history of the project. It's been a long project, long coming, a lot of thought and planning put into it so far. Going back to 2016, city officials started researching options for a new police station. And they've gone through a lot of ideas since then, including building jointly with the county, to building their own building out at the Cars for Less, to renovating this facility here. In 2018, for example, they were looking at renovating this building upstairs, both sides, downstairs, to try to meet some of our needs now. And that estimate came in around $2 million. And that was beginning of 2018. So we're coming up on 5 years since that estimate was done. So you can imagine that just to renovate this building to try to make it more usable, that $2 million cost is going to be substantially higher. And our worry is that it's not going to meet our needs today, let alone 10, 20, 30 years from now. So ultimately, what the city pursued was constructing a new police station at the city property that's adjacent to our MMU building. Everybody calls it Cars for Less building. Our police calls it their West Precinct right now, as they don't have enough space in this building, so they've got some staff out there within the old Cars for Less building. So they were planning on putting a city police station within that facility, and ultimately in 2019, it was decided to include the new city hall as well. If we're going to be going through the work of a new police station, let's add on the city hall department so that we have a new facility for everybody. Otherwise, you're going to be renovating this building as well for the staff that be left behind. In that 2019, 2021 range, they had started designs on a single-story building out in the Cars for Less. Sometimes you're looking at renovating that building or trying to use it as a garage versus building a new one. And at some point, we looked at it and we realized that this one-story building doesn't have enough parking to meet our own ordinance requirements that we require businesses. So why would we want to put something that we don't even feel would have enough parking for other businesses for our own facility? So we decided to move that to a two-story facility, which fits our needs now, and we believe it would fit our needs into something that we can grow into in the years to come. And then 2022, we took action, or the commission took action to officially finish the building designs and do the full design needed for a bidding process. And more recently in August, we began discussions with an adjacent landowner. We were looking at that Cars for Less property, and there was a fire to the south, which made it, I don't know if strategic is the word, I don't like to call a fire strategic, but it left an opportunity there for the landowner to get some insurance money and still move to a different property that was smaller and fit his needs and allow somebody else to come in and have this property that was damaged with the fire. So it would work well for us to have that property acquisition. And I'll talk more about that. And then last month, we did approve a voluntary annexation of the property to take it into city limits so that we could continue forward with this project. We'll jump to the next slide. We'll jump to costs. This is probably the question we get the most, is what's it going to cost? And I mentioned at the beginning that it is a considerable project. With the exact cost, we won't know, of course, until we bid it out and see what the contractors turn in for pricing. Similar projects that RSA has provided to us, they've seen for the facility portion be between $250 to $300 a square foot, and then for the garage, $175 to $200 a square foot. Using those parameters, the total for this project would be between 7.3 and 8.7 million. Of course, we don't know until we get those bid prices in. So it is a considerable project, and that's why we're doing this. We want to be open to the public and let you know that we feel that there's a need for this project, but it's a big investment for everybody's money and in taxpayer dollars. We want to be open and honest about what we're looking at here. For how do we pay for this? Currently, financing available, we have 1.7 million in reserves, cash available whenever needed. And then we took out a sales tax bond last year at $4 million. I believe the interest on that's about 2.6%. So looking back with what interest rates have done recently, we're very fortunate and happy that we have locked in that good amount. So that 5.7 million would carry us through for the bulk of the project. We would believe if we start construction in 2023, any amount that we would need to be paying at that point would be covered through the current financing. And then the remaining amount we could take within the operational budget for 2024. So there would not be any increase needed for taxes or any new fees or taxes anymore. So this is all within our current budget. Next slide, please. The other two questions I get are related to kind of our downtown property. The first one is what's going to happen with the current building. Short answer is we don't know. We're focusing on this new building, and if that's something that is possible, we're going to have to tackle that next. One idea is if we wanted to do a request for proposal process, we could see what ideas are out there. Maybe there's some developers that could see using this, turning this into a mixed-use space. Maybe it'd all be apartments. I don't know. Speaking for myself personally, and my staff might cringe at this a little bit, I actually like the historic nature of this building, and that's why I put the picture of the front of the building. It's been in our community for a long time, and when you have these historical buildings downtown and you demolish them and get rid of them, you can't get that back. It's just gone. So my personal preference would be for this building to be renovated to have some practical use, but as a city, I don't see it having a use for us, so we'd be open to ideas from the public. Second question we get a lot is, will there be a police presence decreasing downtown? Right now, they're right there, especially as the bars are closing. If there's any issues, what's going to happen with us out on the exterior, and not just for the downtown, but for the whole community, going from a central area to an exterior area. I'll ask Justin to address that.
Yeah, no, that won't really change. Our officers spend probably 90% of their times in their vehicles anyways. They have computers in their cars. During bar closing, busy times downtown, we make it a point to be here, obviously to be in the downtown area. We get complaints that the guys feel that we're targeting them at 2 a.m. in the morning. Well, my philosophy is if we can show that we're down there cruising around that area at 2 a.m. and somebody walks out and they say, maybe I've had too many, they'll turn and either get a ride or decide to walk home. So that officer presence is a big thing that will continue to take place as it has for as long as I can recall. So that will not decrease our presence downtown during any other events downtown. We're always in the area, obviously, so.
Thank you, Chief. Next slide, please. So here is an overview of the area that we're looking at. I'm a visual person, so I thought this would be useful to have. Section A that's highlighted right now is where our current city facilities are primarily located. This would be water, sewer, electric, public works, the streets, parks, solid waste. All the equipment and the staff are primarily located within this area. Next slide shows us that area B is where we were looking at for the prior site for a new city hall and police station. If needed, we could probably shoehorn it into this area. It is tight, especially with electric or the utility building to the north there. And then also of consequence, which I'll dive in deeper, is that there's two buildings within that square, the Cars for Less building and then a vacant building behind it that would need to be demolished for us to be located at that facility. The next spot shows C, and this is the area that we are proposing to acquire for the city hall and police station, as well as a new recreation area. This is an area that was annexed in recently and would provide more than enough space for us to build a facility where it's going to be used for a long time and not shoehorned in unnecessarily. The next slide, I believe, yes, shows the plat for this new property. It splits it into a primary lot 1. That's the area that's just highlighted that the city would be proposing to purchase. And then lot 2 on the southeast corner is currently a garage or shed that Bill Highland, the property owner, is going to be adding some living quarters and onto so that he can reside there, as opposed to the house that would be that had the fire that would be demolished. So that area he is still keeping, and the city would have the rest. The intent in that purchase agreement, when finalized, would be that the city would solve the first option on that. So if we felt it convenient to square off the property and have that piece as well, we would have the first option to purchase that. Next slide. One more. Okay, so new location from the Cars for Less property to the new one with the recreation facility that would be coming with it. We looked at what's the pros and what are the cons here. So we'll start with some of the cons. The changes in cost, there's going to be an acquisition cost to do this. The discussions preliminarily have been $250,000, and we expect it to be in that ballpark. A lot less than what the property was for sale a couple of years ago, when before that fire had occurred. It's still a cost for us to consider as a city. And the other main one is property maintenance for the new recreation facilities as well as the new city hall facility. We want to make sure that there's going to be adequate trails around it, that it's going to be clean, the weeds are sprayed, and there's going to be more work and cost for the city to maintain the property. On the pro side, the good things about this and changes in cost, those two buildings I pointed out earlier, we're going to be slated for demolition, and then we were going to have to find a new location to use those buildings. Now one of the buildings we can remodel and use for a water department. We could use some more space. So rather than paying to demolish that building, only to build it new elsewhere, we can remodel what the existing one is and save money that way. Secondly, the basement from the designs, we had been tossing around the idea of whether to include a basement in the new city hall and police station. We looked at multiple other sites as we were doing site visits to get ideas for other city halls. And we found that they had basements in it primarily just for storage or storm shelters. And we thought that might be a good idea. But we didn't know because it is an added cost. I think it was about $1 million extra is what we'd be figuring for that basement. Well, when we were leaving the Cars for Less building, that'd be good for extra storage. And we feel we'd have enough space with the new location and the old one and the buildings that we're keeping that we wouldn't need to have a basement in the new design. So that decision is made for us, and it would be a savings of about $1 million on the designs without that basement. The other factors to consider, just improved location, fits a lot better here. We don't have to worry about vehicles from the city hall getting too close to our utility trucks. We don't have to worry about whether there's enough parking. There's plenty of space here in that area. And then the recreation area, which I think would be a huge asset for this community. In the next slide, we'll jump into that. This is a 2.7 acre man-made pond. It used to be a gravel pit, was filled in with water a number of years ago. The east end, which is on the bottom of this picture, I believe is 12 to 15 foot deep. And then the other end, just a couple foot deep. So you got some variation in what this pond could be used for. Those uses could include fishing, walking trail, dog training. I'm sure there's other things that have not yet come to my mind. Game Fish and Parks have been great partners as we've been discussing the opportunities that we could use for this facility. They are looking for ways to get fisheries into more urban areas, and this would be a great pond to get them started right here in Madison. From what Mike's told me, there's other communities our size that have already had recreation or fishing areas like this, and we could add our names to that list of communities. So Game Fish and Parks, through them, they would be able to install an ADA fishing pier and make other access improvements so that kids of all ages can access that. Here's a site layout. So I've got a couple pictures that I'll go through fairly quickly. We've got some beautiful renderings, poster board from RSA over the side there. But I know that we have some people on the Zoom and aren't here in person, so I wanted to include in the presentation to see. So here in the middle, the red building, that'd be the new building, the city hall, the police station, and the garage that'd be attached to it. The south would be a new parking area that'd be adjacent to the public entrance to the building. And then to the north side is additional parking. It's already a parking lot right in front of the Cars for Less. So that existing building can be repurposed, and then the parking lot would, for now, primarily stay the same, but we'd have that space for additional parking or employee parking if needed in the future. On the north side of the building, you'll notice kind of a little loop right next to it, and that is a drive-up window for the finance department, so that anyone who wants to visit the finance, drop off utility payment or whatever the case is, if they just don't want to get out of their vehicle, if they don't want to get out in the cold winter day, they can use our drive-up to come right through the facility. I should say right through the facility, right up to the facility. Here's the rendering from the southeast. So from the public parking lot, we have a stairwell, which is really a signature piece for the building from this area. The next one shows an overall rendering with the pond, the new building, and then all the white buildings are the existing buildings that the city already has access to. Okay, the last thing I'll go through is the designs for inside. We talked a lot about the location of this building, the need for it, and what it's going to look like and what new assets the property will bring to the city. Let's talk a little bit about the inside and what it's looking like. So we've got two floors. On the main floor, we're going to have the police department, the finance department, and then the engineering department, as well as the garage. Next slide. I'll have Justin kind of walk us through the police department, because this is the area that I think is very well thought out. RSA had done the police station design for Watertown. And so we were able to learn a lot from what Watertown did and incorporate it into Madison.
Yeah, so basically what we're looking at doing is providing a secure area and also allowing more than one person into our facility at one time. We've got the secretary's area out front. My office is directly behind that. And then we would have 3 interview offices right there as well. We also partner with DCI. Parole, probation sometimes comes into our office to meet with people. So we would have areas to have multiple people in our office at one point in time. It also controls that access only back to a certain point and not allowing them back into where our patrol officers would be on that main area on the north end. We would have that as squad room, looking at probably 4 workstations. We have some office space for our patrol sergeants, office space for our investigators. There's also office space there for DCI. We currently do not have a DCI agent present in our facility. The one that was here has moved on, and so we are probably looking at potentially getting another one in the future. Then you move up there to the top half north of the hallway. What you're going to see there on the far right is our EOC room. We've obviously had to use that a couple of times here in the recent past, unfortunately, with the flood and the storm, but also when we have major incidents such as homicides and things of that sort. We need a place where we can house 10, 15, 20 people to come in, work in a secure area, provide internet access, power to electronics. And obviously, if we have another disaster, that would be our headquarters. Then you're gonna move over, we would have an evidence processing room supplied with secure evidence room. And then also on the very top of that is a Eoc room where we would store drugs. Right now, if we bring marijuana into the facility, the folks from finance will come over complaining because they can smell it and it's giving them a headache. So obviously that would be a reverse flow air system that would get vent directly outside to prevent that in the future. We'd have an area for storage for lockers. We'd add some more storage area up there and then a decon room. There's a lot of times that we go into scenes and situations where our uniforms may be covered in blood or other type of fluids. It would give the officers an opportunity to shower here, wash their uniforms and not have to take that home to their own personal environment, which to me only makes sense. And then the very top end is additional evidence storage, secure facilities. It's not uncommon for us to store a vehicle, larger items, couches, chairs, those types of things. Currently, right now, we've got evidence stored in a number of different places. This would allow us to have all of that stuff stored in a much more secure facility, all in one place, and would make our operations flow that much smoother.
Thank you, Chief. Next slide. These other departments will go a little bit quicker. So the finance department, they're going to have office space, of course, document space to be stored in a vault, as well as a conference room. And then the drive up you'll see on the north side there with windows for that use to be held. Engineering is primarily office space. Currently, they've got 5 staff, including the GIS person that they'll be adopting from the utility department, so that's enough office space to fill our current staff with 1 extra for growth. And then moving on to the second floor, upstairs, you're going to have the commission area where the commission room will be located, as well as the administration area with the mayor and the HR. And some shared uses areas. We'll jump into those a little bit deeper. So the administration and human resources office, you're going to have a reception area. Mayor's office is going to be in there. The city administrator is going to be in there, as well as our human resources staff. The HR director is going to be the northwest office of the blue area. And why that's important is because it's right next to a stairwell. So if we have any current employees, prospective employees, or anybody that wants to see our HR for any reason and would like to limit their exposure and then try to maintain some confidentiality, they're going to be able to come right up that stairwell in the north and go straight into that director's office. The commission room is going to be on the east side of the building. Pretty straightforward. The new room will have the opportunity to have technology that's up to date with the century that we're in. It's going to have the cameras and the screens so that everybody can see what's going on easily, and can hear what's going on, whether they're in person or remotely. The conference room on the north there can be something shared amongst other departments as well, but it also worked well for executive session. When the commission needs to speak in private, they can just step into the next room, and they can always come back out, and the public can still be there if they wish to remain. And then finally, we've got some areas for shared use areas for employees, as well as future growth. So the gray areas are bathrooms and IT office, mechanical rooms, that sort of thing. The yellow areas are going to be a fitness room and a break room for employees. And then the light blue area, which is the big one in the middle, that's just shell space available for future growth. We don't have a purpose for it now, but someday if we need any new departments or any new staff, we're going to have room to grow into this facility for many years, and we're not going to outgrow it right when we move in. And I think that's the last slide I've got. Thank you all for your patience as I work through that. But I think it's important to get it all out on the table and hopefully answer some of the questions before they get here. But stand by for any questions, and then we'll be happy to give any tours. So questions or comments does the group have? All right, thanks for coming. I'm sure somebody, Marshall, you? Yeah, sure, come on up.
Please.
Marshall Bennett, just want to go on record. When I was mayor last 3 years, I supported this. Actually, when Chief Meyer came and asked that he wanted to design it, I told him to go back to the architect and see about putting both buildings in. The problem I have is the extra property we're buying. You said it was 250,000
Yep, that's the discussion, yeah.
to purchase the land. It doesn't include tearing down the house.
Mhm.
What about sanitary sewer and a lift station to the property owner?
That's gonna be under his own cost.
So he's paying for the lift station and the sanitary sewer.
So for his house, he's gonna need to have some small private lift to make sure that his sewer can get into our system, of course, because it's at the same elevation. We're negotiating with him on that final sales price, but we've told him that he's gonna need to be the one to fit that bill, just like anybody else in town, as they're looking into it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Good comments. You also have any questions?
Just real quick,
Yeah.
I can't remember, how close did the flood come to that area?
Right, can you answer that?
The flood zone kind of sweeps up near that south building of Bill Highlands. It doesn't go all the way up to the building, so the site of the city hall would be completely out of the flood zone.
Okay. Just curious.
Great question. Yeah.
I'll show it. I tried to zoom back out, so.
You're getting better, Mike.
Getting there.
We might keep you in this
Don't
position.
have to ask for a raise.
Anyone else? Yeah,
I like the idea of the decon area.
sure.
Yeah, I bet you probably had a few of those over the years.
I'll just say thank you for all the work you guys are doing. There's a lot of time and efforts that's been put into that. I know Chief and I have talked about this for many years, and so I know it's not just one person that's doing this. It's a city that puts this together, and I can tell you to have this campus, government campus for a city. I mean, that's gonna be envied by a lot of other cities in the state. So kudos, keep up the good work on it.
Thank you for those comments. I think it's a great point. It's not just one person. It's not just one person at a time either. It's been many years coming. It's been an evolving project. And as Marshall, indicated, different people have come over the years to contribute good ideas to this project to make it what it is today. Right? GFP guy.
Can we put you on the
Yeah.
spot and ask you, your thoughts and that of the future use of the recreation area?
Yeah, you bet. So this would be a good example of what we consider an urban and community fishery. We manage a handful of these throughout eastern South Dakota, a growing handful. And what we define as an urban and community fishery is basically a small, most often they're man-made water bodies within city limits that we can stock with fish, provide access to the pond, around the pond, and is a really nice local opportunity for folks to go fishing, especially kids. And that's where these really shine, is with kids. They can, especially if they can access it themselves, if they can ride their bikes to it on a trail, that's a huge bonus. But game fish and parks role in these urban fisheries is to stock it with fish. We stock it with adult catchable size fish, so it's an instant fishery. We usually stock them pretty regularly, try to get fish in them every year, just to make sure that there's fish there and available for folks to catch. We also like to create and improve access opportunities to these ponds. And in recent years, one of the low-hanging fruit and really successful ways of improving that access is installing a floating fishing pier. We've been doing those on a number of lakes and urban fisheries, and they get a ton of use. Maintenance is really low. They're really cost effective for how much use they're getting out of them, and that's a good way for the Department of Game Fish and Parks to get involved and provide access. A good example of an urban fishery that we've been involved with recently was in Harrisburg. The city of Harrisburg has Lake Ole, they called it. And it's a relatively new man-made urban fishery. That's actually a storm retention pond, I believe, for a new development. But it's right across from elementary school. Right, it's got a bike path going all the way around it. We stock fish in it, installed a fishing pier, and huge success at Lake Ole. And so that's one that I like to point to when cities are interested in doing an urban fisheries, because you know, they've implemented, the city of Harrisburg's implemented a lot of the components that make that these urban fisheries successful. And so yeah, these urban fisheries are growing, not just in South Dakota, but all throughout the nation, to get folks outside, especially kids, get them outdoors, get them away from screens, and engage them in the outdoors. And I think this would be a really good opportunity for that.
Thank you.
I think that's a great idea. I have one question. The current landowner says that there's a cormorant issue and they like to come and feast for about a week and clean them out. Is there anything we can do to control that bird population in the future?
Cormorants. So cormorants are federally protected bird, and so there'd be permitting involved. Those two permits do exist, if there is a problem. I don't know.
Permits coming.
Permits
coming down.
And so, you know, it's one of the, I don't know if it would be an issue. I don't think cormorants would come in and take out a fish population, especially a population that we're stocking, supplemental stocking year after year. And we do that supplemental stocking year after year because we're expecting certainly some harvest mortality. We're expecting those fish to be caught and kept. We hope kids are keeping some of those fish, and so, or anybody's keeping those fish. And so that's one of the reasons that we have such a heavy stocking plan for these ponds, is to keep up with that expected mortality.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Any other questions?
I have a question for this game fishing park. So you did answer one of them. This isn't catch and release, they can keep them.
Yep.
Okay. Do you need I know children don't need like fishing license. What about adult?
Yep, the statewide fishing regulations would apply. So
Okay.
the fishing regulations that are applied to Lake Madison would be the same that are applied to the deer. So you'd have daily bag limits, and if you are old enough to require a fishing license. Yeah, these are all, we actually discourage catch and release just because not only the enforcement side of things makes it really difficult. If a kid's got a fish in his bucket, you got to deal with that, but we want kids to, we encourage them to, you know, get excited about keeping fish and bringing fish home. And so, like I said, that's why we have such a heavy stocking plan on these water bodies, just to offset that harvest mortality.
Great, thank you.
One of the kids is looking forward to it is in yellow in here tonight.
Yeah, you bet.
Like I said, kids of all ages. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. Marshall, Jim, are there
Is there any added liability to the city on these type of?
any added liability? I don't believe there would be. Yeah, good question.
It's just like any of your other parks or playground equipment or anything like that. A creek that runs through town, I mean, that's all part of it. I want to thank Kip. Kip's our aquatic habitat and access biologist that came up here for the second time because he knows this is important. I mean, the location isn't as important to us as where you guys decide you want to build your city hall and your police department, but it saves us time and money not having to go acquire and move dirt and get another pond ready to go. This one's literally ready to go, and we'll shape the inventory system as soon as you guys own the property and get fish in it as soon as possible. We want it. I mean, there could even be a possibility if you guys acquire it soon enough that there's ice fishing opportunities for people on this body of water, and that's what we want to see. I mean, I look forward to, for the last 20 years, I mean, we're surrounded by water. And you got Lake Madison, Lake Herman, and but kids can't safely get to it. And so I want to see kids riding their bikes down the bike path with a fishing pole on their handlebars and a stringer of fish bouncing off the sidewalk all the way home. So, you know, I mean, these are ready to eat. That's what, you know, Kip said that when we stock them, we aren't putting these in there because we want them to breed and take over the pond and wait 5 years for catchable, eatable fish. We're stocking them with ready to eat fish and we hope people take them home and enjoy them.
What other questions, comments, ideas, thoughts?
Not necessarily a question, it's a comment. I like the idea of it because everybody knows when you have kids, their attention span is so short. Well, you can have them stare at a fishing pole for 5 minutes, but if there's a park or a bike path or something to occupy their time, it just stretches their interest, and after they catch a couple fish, they'll be hooked, but it has to be that first fish. It just gives them something else to do besides sit there and want to go home.
And if they get out of line, you can just say, hey, I'm gonna get the police over here.
Settle down there. But I think it's a great opportunity.
Thank you.
I agree. It's just another economic development thing that draws people to our town, that shows them that our community wants people. We want to grow. We want people to be happy. We want our kids to have opportunities, and I think it's a great fit. So kudos to you guys, GFP. I'd rather give the credit to Kip than Russell, but
Same.
And you should.
but seriously, it's a great product. Proud of you guys.
Thank you. Definitely appreciate the positive comments. Anything else? Okay, if anybody would like a tour of the facility, we'll maybe just stick around here for 5 minutes and we'll grab whoever's interested and take you around the building. The design's over there if you'd like, and we'll stand by if there's anybody has any more questions or comments. Thank you all for coming very much.
Well done, gents.
Appreciate it.
Nice work.